Weighing in on those early polling and developments now is Professor of Political Economy at the University of Johannesburg, Isaac Khambule. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. A very tight poll election, we are told.
Afternoon to you and to your listeners. No, it's definitely a tight poll, and as we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks in terms of what the poll predictions are, it's going to be a tight one, probably as tight as the one that we saw between former President Donald Trump and as well as current President Biden. And there's really quite a lot that is hanging in the thread, and as well as for the entire Europe and as well as the global security as well.
Of course, I mean, the turnout in key swing states, about 7 of them, is what we are told will decide this poll. I wanted to take us a step or two back. Why? And perhaps characterize for us the American voter and why this particular election is so tight, given just how different these two contestants at least appear to be.
That's one, because if we look at the different voter segments and who is likely to vote in this current election, there's been quite a lot of confusion amongst the voters, because we may recall that there are current issues that are happening with the Israel and Palestine genocide that is currently taking place, and as well as some of the global power shifts that we've been seeing within the globe, particularly in terms of which nations are supporting which, and as well as the waning influence of the US in global security, because right now we see a lot of emerging and developing countries deciding to form their own consensus outside of the US, and that declining influence again becomes a key issue that resonates within those who are within the Trump administration, who say this is the direction that we need to be taking, because we need to ensure that we deglobalize from the world. We need to stop trying to be everybody's savior. Whereas on the other hand, we also have the Kamala Harris sector that is also saying that there's quite a lot that needs to be done in order to regain the confidence that America used to enjoy within the global community. So the different voters in this case, again, are partly drawn particularly more about the issue of the Israel and Palestine issue. And that on its own, again, is costing the Democrats quite a lot of votes. And as well as you can see in terms of what is happening within the liberals on their own, and the Republicans, of which again shows that there are certain contestations that are happening, particularly within the ideological contestations. As you see, the left is rising up, and then on the other hand, we've been seeing quite a lot of the right rising up under Donald Trump, and it should be quite interesting then to see as to how these two divisions are going to play or enclave society and the approach that the entire US is going to take in terms of its international posture.
But do they really, I mean, do Americans though vote on such issues as what's happening in the Middle East, and not on their domestic issues or such issues as abortion, for example? I mean, my colleague Zianda Ngobo was talking about abortion in the crossing we had earlier, and I remember, I mean, the last election, US election, I covered, the issues were the same.
Issues of abortion, issues of illegal immigration, and we've been seeing quite a lot. If you look at the X platform, usually known as Twitter, has been rigged with a lot of illegal voter fraud that has been raised about issues of illegal immigration. What are illegal immigrants doing in the country, turning it backward? So that on its own, again, is playing into the popularity gallery of Donald Trump. But again, if you also look at the core issues of abortion, again, those that are mainly on the side of the Democrats that are also at play. But what has been happening from an international perspective and how it also influences how people vote, you can also look at it and realize that majority of those who identify within the Muslim community are slowly having an erosion of trust in Kamala Harris because of how she has been unable to handle the issue of the Palestine and Israeli war. And that on its own, again, is so quite unfortunate because we realize that both candidates are not going to affect any change in terms of the situation that we see there. So it's likely going to be a catch-22 between as to what voters do then. Who do you choose between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris leading up to the elections? And so far, I mean, if you look at the voter turnout and if you look at what we're seeing online, there's also been a lot of disinformation in terms of who is likely to lead. So those particular issues are also going to inform quite a crux of the outcome of this election.
Are they far apart? Are the two candidates far apart on domestic issues, which many people assume is what is really going to determine who wins and who loses?
Definitely, I think they're quite far apart because if you look at Trump, he's mainly proposing taxes that are pro the wealthy. But if you look at Kamala Harris, on the other hand, you realize that she's proposing cuts that are pro workers. So in this instance, again, there is bound to play an important role in terms of which majority of the society is going to vote for which candidate. So those are some of the issues that are likely to play an important role again in terms of the outcome. But again, as indicated, the core issues that we are seeing is what is then happening. For example, if you look at the likes of Donald Trump, they've been on this deglobalization agenda, of which does not necessarily work for the entire European Union. But if you look again in terms of what the likes of Kamala Harris are proposing, of which shows then again that they are more in tune and aligned to what the entire European Union would like to see happening in the US so that they can continue benefiting from the protection and as well as the policies that the US has been pushing at an international perspective. But domestically, again, as we indicated, issues that are related to illegal immigrants, issues that are related to abortion, issues that are related to tax cuts are also going to play an important role. I think we just saw a couple of days ago, even Donald Trump also indicating that he wants to have particular tax cuts for those families who are looking after the elderly. And that's on its own, again, shows a bit of policies that are trying to appease to those who are coming from the lower stratas of society so that they can see Donald Trump as someone who's going to also protect their rights. So he's currently trying to balance between what he advocates for the rich and what he's trying to advocate for the poor.
Though she started a little late, perhaps, but Harris did enjoy a decisive lead for quite some time, but which has since that lead has now almost gone. What do you think happened there?
Definitely. So, I would like to take it back to, I think, some of the core issues that we've been seeing. And again, if we look at the role that is played again by platforms such as X, we've been seeing a lot of disinformation that is basically suggesting that Donald Trump has a lead that is close to 70% compared to what Kamala Harris has. And that on its own, again, also has an impact on how people are going to vote at the end of the day. But in hindsight, again, you realize that no one knows at this point in time as to what is likely to be the outcome. It's just two sides trying to influence the other. But one core thing that I can really mention is that the issue of the Palestinian and Israeli war, it has really dented the credibility of Kamala Harris, in as much as we may not want to admit that it has, because they do understand that Donald Trump will not do anything about the issue. So Kamala Harris was the person that they were looking to say she may likely change that particular narrative, but she has not necessarily been able to. And we've been seeing a lot of media platforms also reporting on this, saying there is a huge decline within particular states that are dominated by the Muslim community. So that on its own is likely denting her credibility, and as well as seeing the number now of African Americans that are also saying they will vote for Donald Trump. So all of those particular factors really do play an important role in terms of denting her chances of becoming the next president.
What does put Donald Trump in good stead among the voters, whether it's right or wrong or plausible, but what has he done right for his campaign?
I think the one thing that he has done right is the populist rhetoric that he normally comes up with. We know this for a fact. He's saying, no, we need to ensure that America is strong. We need to deal with illegal immigrants. You see the rise again of the likes of Elon Musk playing an important role, giving people $1 million for signing a particular referendum. And that's on its own, again, using such particular famous platforms to say and invoke people to vote in a particular way, that is likely to swing how people vote. But the main thing that we're seeing again in the US is what we're also seeing within the entire European community, because there's a rise of the far right wanting to take power and coming up with anti-immigrant policy. We've seen this in France, we're seeing this in Italy. So there is also now playing at the gallery within the US, and that is what we've also been seeing in terms of media coverage of this and how these issues of illegal migration then have also led to Kamala Harris in terms of the policies that they've taken, saying they care more about illegal immigrants than they care about their own people, because we saw with the recent hurricane as well as to what happened, and as well as the US indicating that they do not have money to support the victims of that. And then you find people like Donald Trump then using that to say they have the money to take care of illegal immigrants, but they do not have the money to take care of you. So he's starting to resonate to those who are poor, those who are again who are seeing illegal immigrants as people who are fighting with them for their jobs.
I'll put you on the spot. Would you dare to call it?
At the moment, I would definitely indicate that I could definitely see Donald Trump taking this one. It's going to be by a close margin, but he's likely going to take it, because again, in terms of charisma, those are some of the key things that you see that Kamala Harris lacks in terms of having a particular constituent that she's going to hold. She's been relying quite a lot on the likes of former President Obama, Clinton, and everyone to be on her side and pushing the vote, of which Donald Trump has not necessarily relied on previous presidents to do. So in this case, I'll definitely say I see former President Donald Trump taking it.
Professor of Political Economy at the University of Johannesburg, Isaac Khambule.